name's Martha, and I'm on fashion design women's wear.
Okay. My name's Zawadi, and I'm on fashion journalism and content creation.
Nice. I know a little bit about fashion journalism because I lived with one of you. That's the extent of my knowledge. I think it's writing based. And I know what journalism is, but that's about it.
You said, which course did you say you do? Women's wear?
Yeah.
I actually know quite a bit about it because I think I know a couple people on the course. Because there's so many different courses in design, I always forget like how specific each one is. So I guess I know that they primarily teach you how to make clothes for women.
Amen.
Amen.
I do that.
Wow, yeah, I would be upset if it was anything else. I don't think.
Surprise, I actually make clothes for men.
That's such a shame.
Such a shame. I signed up for women, but they gave me men.
They surprised you on the first day. They pranked you.
They were like,
April Fools.
you thought you were here for women? You're not.
I don't really care how the course is perceived by other people. Like, even in the class, I think everyone sort of has a different opinion on what they like about the course, what they don't like, who they don't like, the tutors, whatever. Like, I don't really think there's anything I need people to know other than just being open. Like, for potential students, just being open to it. Like, there's going to be a lot of stuff that you don't want to do. There's always going to be stuff that you don't want to do on whatever course. Yeah, there's not really much. It's a lot of writing. Like you said, that's pretty much, I think people sometimes think if you go to a writing course that you won't have to write or something, or some people think that you can get away with not doing specific things, but it is written. It's essay, it's like magazines and loads of different forms. Like, it's every single form of journalism in one. So you do like video and broadcasting and podcasts and even like social media stuff like TikTok. So it's like everything.
Yeah, because I think I thought like fashion history, etc., is more essay, and I think I thought journalism was potentially less intense. Like, I thought maybe you'd have a lot of choice. Like, you could do videos, you could do like get away with not writing if you didn't have to.
Yeah,
so that's interesting.
What about yourself? What would you say is something that you want people to know?
I think I'd quite like people to experience women's wear for like a couple weeks. I find it difficult I think because it's so artistic, it's difficult to explain to people why I'm constantly busy and constantly working. And I think it's quite common in my course in particular for people to work ridiculous hours and work. Like, I think there's a bit of a reputation, like the women's wear students with their suitcases and women's students like late at night. And like, I think I would love for people to experience a course just to know how many different things we have going on and how much pressure there is in terms of like quantity of work. I think that'd be nice so people know why I'm not at the pub, why I'm not responding to their messages. But yeah, it would be quite fun if everyone experienced it. I also think there's a bit of a designers can sometimes come off a bit scary, and I'd like people to know it's because we're intense and our course is intense. Like, it's hard to find collaborations because I think as designers, all the other courses seem quite collaborative and ours seems less so, although we want it to be collaborative. So I'm like, if maybe people knew we weren't scary, we were just intensely working and intensely focused, it'd be quite good. To have like meet people from different courses.
You don't get to meet people from other courses often. Do you know people like in other design courses?
Yeah, I do. Like menswear, fashion design and development. But like, I'm at the point where I need textiles designers and I'm like, I don't know them. Like, I wouldn't be able to name one textiles designer.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and there have been opportunities for sure, the school have given them. But I just think it would be great to have more collaboration. I think if we all knew more about each other, like I wouldn't know the textiles course, who they are, what they do, what different types of textiles there are. Likewise, if I wanted to collaborate with a photographer, I may not know what types of photography there are. And I think if I knew more about other courses, I'd be able to like access their skill set and collaborate with their skill set a lot more.
In a way that would like also help your course as well and help understanding that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think we're so rare in that everyone at UAL is artistic, and it's like we should really use that. Like, if you're at Goldsmiths, there's also history students, maths, etc. Whereas here, every single person can collaborate with each other. I think it'd be cool if we all knew about each other and what we all do.
Yeah, it feels very separate.
Very
like, even
separate.
between the colleges, like, it's so weird to see how little. Like, I think I've pretty much been to every single campus except for Wimbledon, and like, it's so weird to see the difference in how like people are, but also how people like sort of navigate getting through these like socialized spaces, because I've mostly been to all of these spots in a social context, so it would be like for a DJ event or like whatever, so everyone's always sort of got their guard down, but like the first question people will ask you is like, which college do you go to, or like what course are you on, and all that stuff. It's such a, I mean, we study for 3 years, you know, it's such a big part of.
Like, have you ever been to floor 12?
Oh yeah,
Potentially.
yeah,
Because I feel like I've never been, except for 10, 11, 12 and the library floor, I've never been to any others.
really,
This is my first time on 7.
What?
Very exciting day.
That's insane to me. That is
Yeah.
wild, especially because we've been in the campus like almost 2 years now.
Not left my territory.
But that's also because all of your stuff is up there. Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't really. So I have mates in FDD and like fashion design and development, in women's wear and menswear, in like fashion, textile and print as well. So like, I guess when you sort of know people, you tend to go up those floors. But
Yeah.
I guess going back to the hours thing and like the workload, it's like if you've got stuff to do, you're not thinking about socializing, you're not thinking
No.
about doing all of that stuff.
Quick social in the canteen for 15 minutes. Back to my floor, like not talking to anyone, you know? Yeah.
It's wild.
It's yeah, I didn't even know we were really allowed on other floors. I thought it was like kind of like, sometimes when I go to floor 11, I'm like,
Should you
am
be
I
here?
allowed here? This is for contour and sportswear students. I'm like, will they catch me like the rogue women's wear?
To be fair, I have received some like really odd. I guess I don't look like a fashion design student, or I'm not. I don't know, but like I always do receive weird looks from people when I'm just like sitting on that floor. Because sometimes I've sat on that floor and done work with like my mates because they need a certain desk, you know, or like
Yeah.
whatever, and I've just like perched on the end. And even then, I do notice like people just be like, "She's not a fashion design student. Like, why is she here?"
Yeah.
But I don't think they're looking at you like that because you actually do belong on those floors.
But I mean, the hot desking is so wild up there.
yeah,
I feel
it's
like when
intense.
there's like non-women's wear students, we're all like, what? Because like you have to get there at 9 o'clock if you want a space.
Really,
So I'm like, I think I thought other floors were like that, and I don't want to like take away from their space. But like on floor 11 and 12, if you want a space, you're there early. And I think, yeah, I'm surprised other courses aren't like that.
yeah, not at all. Like floor 6, I showed up today at what, like almost 12,
Yeah.
and it's always empty. Like I used to get nervous about stuff like that. I was like, if I won't get enough work done, if someone's using a laptop, like there is something where sort of if you start editing a project on Adobe on one laptop, you have to use that laptop for the rest of the project unless you finish it in one sitting. So like,
Oh my god.
yeah, so my mate, he's in creative direction, used to edit on the laptops on floor 6, and he would do video projects. So imagine like editing a video takes a while, so he would literally go to uni for like 3 days straight on the same laptop, and if someone was sitting there, because we used to live together in second year, he'd text me and be like, someone's in my space. So like, I guess that's the only like that's the only real struggle that we have in terms of like finding space. But that's also wild, because why would they not just like make more space if they're conscious of the amount of students that they have?
Like more sewing machines? Question mark.
Yeah.
I mean, there
like,
is
more
an issue with
facilities.
like people will go and they'll spread like 4 tables. I mean, I'll do it too. Like grab a sewing machine the second I like arrive, even if I don't need one. And then obviously, because with like fashion, there's no extent to how many tables you could use. If I had 10, I'd probably fill all of them. So I think the more they make, the tables will still fill up.
Yeah, I
Like,
guess so.
people like their space. People are a bit protective of it sometimes.
Does it get violent on those floors?
So it's not. It's not that violent. I think sometimes it can feel a little bit like shady. Maybe that's just me.
Oh no,
I'm
I think
shady.
There's shade. I think there's shade everywhere.
Don't steal my table.
Yeah.
And also, like, I think, you know, on a tube where, like, if there's 5 spaces, you don't sit on the spaces next to each other, you sit in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's like an unspoken rule. I feel like it's the same with desks. Like, you don't pick the one next to someone, you pick every other one until all of those spaces are done.
And then you start
And then you start sneaking in the gaps.
That's standard practice.
Standard practice.
That is, yeah. That for me, I completely get that. I would be so mad if there was an empty floor and someone goes right next to me. I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing?
I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm just one of those, like, grumpy fashion students, but I'm like, space, please.
No, I get that. I do get that. It's like, it would be the same on, like, floor 6. Like, there's so many laptops it's always empty. If someone came and sat right next to me, even though I don't even need that much space, like, I usually am quite confined. But, like, if someone came and sat right next to me, I'd be like, there's a floor full of empty MacBooks. Like, what are you doing?
Where should we start? Academic. Maybe what we've learned academically is easier there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
You go.
Thank you. It's weird, like, when I'm in it, I can't see it. So I think probably one of the most frustrating processes for me is that I have definitely been through moments in this uni where I'm like, I don't need this. I don't need my tutors. I don't need this lesson, or I don't need to come in for this. And I think it was over summer, I was on my laptop at home and I found the file with all my old work in it, and I started reading my work from first year, and then I started looking at my work from second year, and my goodness, the difference is so large. And like, I never would have seen that, I don't think, as much, or maybe it would have happened a lot later, maybe if I was doing my master's or even much further down the line, to see actually how much being in this space has affected even the way that I sound talking to someone, and the way that you present yourself. Like, it challenges you. Like, I'm talking about like my course specifically, I feel like challenges so many of us to not just be different in the way that we write in terms of technique, but also actually present ourselves in a way that is as an artist or as a writer or whatever. And now when I go out into, so linking to it actually affecting me in a social sort of atmosphere, I would definitely say that it has affected the way that I come across a lot better, because I'm more articulate, but also I'm so much more conscious of myself as an artist, but also the connection between another artist or another creative or whatever, because all that we do in the course is sit and opposite someone and interview them and ask them, you know? And so I think in doing that, you actually learn to ask, like, you make yourself a good conversationalist. You ask interesting questions, and it builds a genuine, like, curiosity. I'm so curious. And I don't
100%.
think, I don't know if I would have had that if I didn't come to uni, or if I'd have picked a different subject. I was originally on PR, so, and I didn't feel as curious in that. So I guess depending on interest and what you actually want to do and where you want to challenge yourself and take that, I think it was definitely facilitated by being here. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah. I think, like, similar, you don't really notice when you're in it, like, how much you've improved. I mean, even, so, like, I find now, I had a really big jump from my first year work where I didn't really understand the academics, and I, like, grade-wise did quite badly, to now, where I'm getting good grades, and I find it, I look at my work and I think it's the same. Like, when I make work now, I look at it and I'm like, oh, yeah, like, this is, it must be similar quality to my first year work. And then when I actually, like, step back and I look at my first year work, I'm like, oh, there is a reason why I'm, like, doing better now. Like, there's a reason why my first year work didn't do great. But I don't notice those changes. I don't think I'm any better a designer now than I was. And then it is, like, taking a step back and being like, oh, like, I've learned a lot. And I, like, didn't notice myself learning it. But I do, like, especially with, like, communication, as you say, like, now I notice it most in my communication. At the beginning, I found those presentations so hard. We have, like, crits where you have to present your ideas, present your work, get feedback on it. And in first year, they were absolutely horrible. I hated them. And now I like come out of them, I'm like, that was kind of fun. Like, I love presenting, I love talking, can't really shut me up. And I think like that's the place where I'm like, oh, okay, like I have confidence and a bit of conviction now. But I mean, it's definitely taken a lot of self-reflection to realise that. I have to like regularly take a step back and be like, no, like you are learning, you are like doing quite well. But yeah, looking back at your first year work is madness.
It's insane. Like, it's also very cathartic though. I feel like, especially because, I mean, like everyone, like I just spoke to a couple first years like outside that were on my course, and like one of the things I was saying to them is I was like, I did not care about first year. Like, so there's so many people that didn't care about first year because it doesn't really count or like whatever. And I think that also feeds into it. It's like mindset and actually being in a position to be able to learn as well.
Yeah.
Because like first year work, it feels good in the moment. Like, I thought I was writing some good stuff. Like,
Me too.
you know?
I was like, I don't know why they don't like it. It's I'm so good.
I'm just like so great.
I'm a genius.
I literally thought about that like straight off the top of my dome. Like,
They knocked me off a peg though. They were like, this is rubbish.
well, they actually.
And so now, like when I'm like producing good work, I'm still like, this is rubbish.
Yeah.
I mean, self-critique is quite good sometimes.
Yeah. I think UAL as a school does actually make better critical thinkers, which is why I think it puts us quite high up there within other fashion schools. Because from sort of how I've experienced or seen a lot of people talk about other creative spaces or creative institutions like UCA and Westminster has quite a good one and like all of that, it doesn't feel that there's enough like critical thinking and like, why did you do that and how come you got here and what's your process and what are you doing here, like, you know, sort of thing. So I also think even if it is slightly debilitating, that voice in your head, and also the one that I have that is like, this is bad, even having progressed so far, sometimes is good because it has humbled me and put me in check. And at times where I didn't think I need it, but then
You always need it.
Yeah, you always need it at some point. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Have we learned anything else, like life advice? Like life. I think I've learned a lot about balance, to be fair. Like, it's coming. Like, I thought, first and second year, I thought to be the best, I had to, like, work the hardest, do the most hours. Like, I had to, to be, like, the best designer and the best version of myself, I had to do everything and work the hardest, and I didn't want people to work harder than me. And now I realise, like, hard work is different to, like working smart. Like, I've realised, like, actually having a balance, seeing friends, having a lunch break, having, like, you know, having a coffee break, going to the pub, like, it's all part of what makes someone successful. And it's a shame that it's taken me, like, 3 years to realise that, 2 years to realise that. But I definitely think, like, if I went into work now, I'm not going to stay past 5 if work finishes at 5, because to be a good, like, artist and good designer, you do have to learn and experience life and think, and I don't think you can always do that, like, sat in a library trying to, like, force thinking. That you do have to, like, experience life a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's so true. Because, like, art, the way that you create art is a reflection of life. So if you're spending all your time in a library, like, you're not going to experience what that you then use to facilitate the creative process.
Yeah.
But, like, I had the same thing, but it was balance, but the opposite way. So when I came to UAL, I'd just come from one of the most intense schooling experiences of my life. I'd been in the Netherlands for 2 years doing international baccalaureate. I'm not sure if you know what that is.
Like A-level, but, like, abroad?
No.
No, okay.
It's really not A-levels. It made me hope, dream, and pray on 3 knees, if possible, to do A-levels. Like,
Yeah.
but it's like you're basically churning out essays for every single subject. You do 8 subjects, and like it was like, it's hard. It's very, very hard.
Yeah.
And so I think coming from that and like coming to a school where everyone did A levels, I think I got very complacent. And I mean, first years for most people is a write off unless you actually do want to do well and like actually think about your life, I guess, or like if you're more sensible, basically.
Yeah.
But when it came to me, I was so confident because I'd spent so many years doing the same thing that they were telling us to do, and then I come in and it's like one project every 2 months, and then an 1,000-word essay, which was something by that point that I knew I could do in my sleep.
Yeah.
I think what I'd learned alongside that is that just because I am capable of doing something in a short amount of time, like, well-ish, doesn't mean that it's what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
Just because you're capable of something doesn't mean that you should just do it. And like, I was talking to my tutor earlier, and when he was introducing me to these first years, he was like, don't be like her. He was like, she's a very smart student and she's very good, but do not be like her. And he's right. Like, I've not really shown up this year. I didn't really show up towards the end of last year. I get a project done in 3 days and it gets an A, but like, that's not what
You're one
meant
of the
to do.
lucky ones.
But it's not lucky because it's like, I've not learned actual, like, the whole thing of balance and like spending your time and allocating it and compartmentalizing, because I had that sort of complacent attitude where I was like, well, because I've been doing the thing for the past 2 years, and also like one of the biggest things they'll tell you when you do IB is that uni's going to be so much easier, so push through these 2 years and you're going to sail through uni. They always tell you that. So like, I was like, cool, I get to uni and it was so much easier, so I was like, cool, just knock it out of the park. But I think I need to take sort of a slice from your pie in a sense of like, spend more hours and dedicate more time to perfecting your craft and learning about it, and take the allocated time. Like, we'd been meant to be working on our dissertation since September. I started it in January. It was due January 20. It's like, I can do it just because I can, but that doesn't mean it's going to be the best that I can do it, but also going to actually make me learn something valuable.
Yeah, it's definitely about like the best you can do it, because I'm always like, it takes me a lot longer to get the work done. Like, I think everyone else left their dissertation to Jan, we have the same deadline as you, but I started like months ago and I've been working at it solidly, and I'm probably at the same point as my peers. So then sometimes I reflect and I'm like, oh, maybe I should have just left it to January. Could have had my Christmas holiday off. Could have spent Boxing Day with my nan, you know. But I do think everyone learns in a very different way. And it's also about learning how you learn and how your balance works. I don't think if I went to the pub more than twice a week, I would do well on this course. And I don't think if I didn't do 6 days a week here, I'd do well. But then I know tons of other people who do 2 days a week and that works really well for them. Like, I definitely think you have to find your own balance.
Definitely.
But you do have to have like a lunch break and probably like one pub trip a week.
Yeah.
I think it's necessary.
Yeah. No, definitely. I feel like my main focus outside of uni is probably work. So like, one of the biggest reasons that I just stopped coming in was because I was like, well, I work 2 jobs now. Like, I was like, don't expect me to come in. I will say that they are very accommodating for stuff like that. So it is kind of nice to, because full disclosure, like, I'm not a terrible student. No, I'm an all right student. You know, I could be better. I could be worse. I wish I'd done more. I feel like I wish I'd come in, but like a really big blessing in disguise was having my laptop broken, because then as soon as my laptop was broken, I had to come into uni because it's writing.
Yeah.
So that was really nice because it meant that I sort of came in and gave myself more access. But you're so right, like, one pub trip a week, and like the balance is very, very individual, because as much as I wouldn't spend as much time planning, if I did, I'd probably get a first, you know?
Yeah.
And so it means that the work that you put in actually amounts to something and means that you probably get a first, because even if it is sort of almost every waking moment that you're like, oh shit, I've got to go in, however many times a week I've got to do this. You still set yourself that time for the breaks and for you to actually do that. I do not do that. So it makes it very different and a lot more chaotic, but we'll see. We'll see how we graduate and if we're at the same position.
I mean, I just am excited to graduate. I hope I do. I want the cap, I want the gown, and like I want a little photo. I'm like so excited to be done now.
Yeah.
I'm like, hopefully like my dissertation gets submitted, my final project gets submitted, and at this point I'll walk down the stage as long as I get to walk down the stage.
Yeah, you definitely will.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.